Okay, I'm going to, I think a few people are still joining the session, but I'm going to kick us off. So first of all, massive welcome to everybody for joining this session today. Make it work, getting the job you want after a career break. And this is the first of its kind we're delivering as the CIPD Trust. So my name is Jamila Qureshi, and I'm Programme and Systems Lead in the CIPD Trust team at the CIPD. And the CIPD Trust, which some of you may know about, you might not have heard of before, was launched at the CIPD in April. And really what we're here to do is around tackling barriers to work today by creating the inclusive workplaces of tomorrow. And that's by giving people and organisations access to the people expertise that they would not be able to otherwise access. So really all about things like today's session, which is really about giving you people who have had a break because of children or for other reasons, and you really want to get back into the workplace. And this is about giving you access to those people expertise to help you be able to do that. And this session forms part of one of our core strands of work, which is really about helping people get in, get on and get back to work. And this is part of three main strands of work that we do as CIPD Trust. The other two being looking at how we diversify the people profession itself to help it be more representative of the communities that it serves, and also bringing people together like we are today to really start to try and tackle the access and diversity gap within workplaces. So we're really excited about today. These are the first sessions that we're running of this kind, and we're really hoping to be able to run more of them in the future. So with that in mind, we're really keen to get your feedback on what you think, what worked well, what you'd like to see more of, what we could improve for future sessions, because we're really keen to be able to run more of these in the future on different topic areas. So any ideas you have around key areas that you think we could focus on for the future as well would be brilliant. So I'm not going to take up too much of your time, so you're going to hear from four fantastic speakers today. So without further ado, I will hand over to my colleague Adebisi, who's going to tell you a bit more how the session is going to work. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamila. So yes, thank you everyone for joining the session. Before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that this session is being recorded. So as Jamila mentioned, we are running this session targeted basically at people who are looking to get back into work after a break. You know, your break could have been for any reason. It's just to kind of give that information and the support needed to get you back into work basically. So we have four presenters today, as Jamila mentioned, who are going to be taking you through this presentation basically. So the first is Belinda Magzima, and then we have Denise Cross and Jennifer Allen, and lastly we have Samantha Hoston. So as the session goes on, I do encourage that you send any questions you may have through via chat, and then we'll have someone monitoring the chat who will be able to answer those questions for you or any discussion points that you may have. And in terms of what we're going to be covering, we're going to be looking at, you know, getting to know you and the things that you may need to consider in terms of finding that job that you want, and deciding what matters to you, and then looking at application and how to apply for your next role. And last of all, kind of getting ready and prepared for that interview point. So I'm going to start talking now, and I'm going to hand you over to our first presenter.
Thank you, Adebisi. My name is Belinda Mazima. I will look at the first section of their presentation, getting to know you. Right. Before you start your job search, it's very important to understand yourself and all the different aspects that makes you, you. And this is what we call the connection dots. So it's looking at things like your values, interests, things that motivates you, your strengths, and your skills. So with values, you can consider things that are your personal values, things that are very important to you, exists whether you are conscious about them or whether it's unconscious. Once you identify these values, it's much easier for you to make decisions about the way you live and the way you do the work. You also need to consider what motivates you. So if you think back over your life and or your career or what you've done before, you can consider things that have been your highs, your lows, also reflecting on things that have been going on into your life. And this normally helps you to consider what motivates you in every aspect of your life. In the chat box, can you just type in what gets you out of bed in the morning, what you think will motivate you? If you just type in a few points in the chat box. We've got a few coming through. Yes.
Yes, we've got some coming through. So someone has said helping people.
Yeah. Making a better place for people, yeah. Helping others, being a role model, yeah. So there's quite a few points there. Okay. Right. So when you do this, it is likely that you will see a pattern. Sometimes you can maybe identify this at your highest moments. Maybe your happiest moments will be the most motivated, or any other time. So it is very important that you have this, consider looking at the points that motivates you. Okay, you can also do this with your mentor or anyone who's a good listener. You can discuss some of your career must-haves and some of your career must-nots, and this will help you identify this. Okay. The other connection dot is your skills. So you will need to consider what your skills are. You need to think of your skills. Skills are the building blocks of work and will help you to define your job criteria. So this is what you've probably built on in the previous work, or even if you haven't, you can consider what we call transferable skills. And these are skills that you can develop outside your career from doing other things. That could be volunteering, coaching, school committees, fundraising, anything that you can do. You can gain the transferable skills and you can use those as well through your job searches. So as part of your job search, you also need to translate any prospective employers and also provide any supportive evidence that you need. You can also work through these with your mentor or any good listener that you may think of. You can practice talking about your skills and any specific examples of where you've used them, because it is very important to be able to communicate them. Also, putting this on your CV and then having that practice before your interview if you're going to do any interview. Okay. Right. So on the strengths, or the next dot will be your strengths. Okay. So we all have our strengths, and it is always useful to identify the unique strengths that we may have. It can be very hard sometimes to identify your own strengths or natural talents by ourselves. Sometimes it can be helpful to probably consider approaching a few people, maybe 3 people at least, who have a different relationship with you. So you can ask them, like say, maybe 3 words that would describe your strengths. So get other people to help you to describe your strengths. And then you can compare their responses and use that for yourself. So that's another very important point on there. Okay. And then on the connecting dots also, you can consider what interests you and what you enjoy. So things that you enjoy, right? So look at the connections between your skills and what you would enjoy doing in your spare time. And this could help you find the magic combination for the jobs that is right for you. Okay, so the next stage is about bringing together the insights and knowledge you have about yourself. So you connect all these dots, everything that I've just gone through. So connecting all the dots and developing this into your own personal summary sheet. And this will be included in the resource pack we will send after the webinar. So the aim of this personal summary is to bring together all the key themes and patterns that have emerged and use this as you begin consider what priorities for your new role. Okay. And then the next two that we will also look at okay, moving to the next is right. The next tool that can also help you in getting to know yourself is the Wheel of Life tools. Right. Okay, so this tool will also help you understand yourself better. And this is when you begin to think about things, about your life goals, your career goals, and things that are very important in your life. So we look at these things in kind of like a wheel, right? So you can look at things like the quality of life, love and relationships, your health, your career, emotional well-being, your finances, right? So when you look at these things, right, you will want to make sure you have these things balanced in your life to make sure you'll be able to achieve what you want to achieve. Okay, so you can consider doing a Wheel of Life exercise to reflect on the different areas that matters to you. And the Wheel of Life helps you to be able to balance. So, sometimes, if I give an example, sometimes you may find that you may be concentrating on maybe the career part of life more than other things, and that can kind of drain you. So you want to ensure that you're taking into account everything in your life and prioritize what's important. You may want to look at the career. You also want a good quality of life. When you look at the career, you want to also make sure it doesn't affect your health, your emotional well-being, your finances, everything is okay. So it's a very good tool that you may want to use for your goal setup, for thinking of, for prioritizing on any aspects of your life. Okay, I think that's all I have to say today. I'll pass you over to the next presenter. Thank you.
Thanks, Belinda. I can't take control at the moment.
Okay, bear with me a second. Celia, are you okay to reshare the slides?
Yeah, I'll add them right now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Denise, are you able to take control now?
I am. Yes, I have control. Thank you. And thank you very much, Belinda. Hi, I'm Denise. So I'm going to talk to you now about deciding what matters. So before you start your job search, it's important to consider the things that are really important to you in your next role. This is a logical next step, having spent all that good time understanding yourself and creating your personal summary sheet. So to help you think through these things, we've grouped them into three main categories: salary and benefits, work-life balance, and job role and type of organisation. So your priorities as to what is important in your job will vary over a period of time. So it's good to understand what you want at this point in your life. For example, is a higher salary the most important thing to you at the moment? Or is another factor such as work-life balance more important to you? Knowing what you want will help you to find a new job or career that fits into your current priorities in life. So let's look at each one in turn, unpack them a little bit, and then I'll ask you to rank each one in order of importance for you right now at the end of this session. So first of all, salary and benefits. One of the main reasons, of course, that we work is to earn money. So it's only natural that people want to make more money. And salaries are one of the easiest things to check and compare when looking at new roles. So a good place to start is to think about what you need to be paid to live comfortably and make it affordable for you to return to work. This is particularly important if you're thinking about changing careers. If you're worried that you might not be paid enough to live comfortably, especially when you're changing career directions completely, then you should look at how much people in that field particularly get paid. If you're planning to return to a similar role or industry, the salary market may have moved on, and therefore it's important not to undersell yourself. So it's always good to do a bit of market research. What is the market rate for the types of job you're looking for, keeping in mind your geographic location? Is there a potential to increase this, for example, through gaining more qualifications? Clearly, salary is important, but benefits such as annual leave, free parking, subsidised lunches and pension contributions should also be considered too. These may not be included in your salary, but they offer obvious financial benefits and are worth thinking about in terms of the overall package. Often you'll find larger organisations have broader and more generous benefits packages. So if things like private medical insurance or a significant pension are important to you, larger organisations might be a better bet for you. And moving on now to work-life balance. In a post-pandemic world now, more than ever, companies are recognising the importance of work-life balance and the benefits it brings in terms of your well-being, engagement, and ultimately your productivity and retention. So employers are often open to discussing flexibility around location, hours, and days. Knowing what you want, even if it's just ideally, puts you in a good position to discuss options and possibilities with a new employer. You may have some that are real deal breakers, but if you can, have a few that you're prepared to compromise on, or others you can be flexible with. As part of this, it's important to consider your personal priorities and commitments and think about how a new job could affect them. So, for example, what are the childcare hours? Do you have other care responsibilities? Do you have a pet that needs walking? How near do you need to be to home? Do you have good public transport connections if you need to travel to an office? Then it's as simple as where, when, and how much you could work. So first of all, where? Hybrid working is really common these days, with a significant number of roles being done between a mixture of home and office working. If you have an option to work at home, would that work for you? Do you have the space to work effectively away from noise and distractions, for example? Would you be prepared to commute? And if so, how far or for how long? There will, of course, be a cost associated with commuting. So another thing to factor into your thinking on salary. When considering when you could work, you need to think about the other demands on your time, of course. For example, will you need to be able to be available for school drop-offs or pickups? And how would you manage school holidays? Some employers have the option to have flexible start and finish hours. So they have core hours, for example, from 10 o'clock in the morning until 4 p.m, when they need everyone to be working, but will then leave it up to each individual to make up their hours either side of that time. And then thinking about how much you could work. There are lots of different options, and you're probably aware of quite a number of these. So, for example, compressed hours, where you work more hours per day, but less days in the week. So, for example, a 40-hour week in 4 days. Part-time hours are basically anything less than the standard 40-hour week, or whatever standard working week the organisation you're going to work for operates. Term time working. This is a less common option, but one where you work only during the school terms and not during the school holidays. Another consideration that's important, and I'm sure you'll have thought about, is if you're claiming any kind of benefit, check if there is a threshold of earnings or hours above which you may lose the benefit or the amount you get may be reduced. So while looking at new jobs, check for options such as flexible working hours, childcare and paid time off policies, as well as salary and benefits, and know what you need to make things work for you. However important flexible working is to you, it shouldn't be the main focus of your application or interview, even for a role which is advertised as flex-friendly. So focus on your skills and your experience first, and explain why you should be suited to the role, why they should be hiring you. Use the question and answer section at the end of the interview to ask about the company's approach to flexible working. And then when you're ready to raise it, treat it as a discussion and not a demand. And don't expect an immediate answer. It may be that the organisation needs to discuss this more widely and come back to you. Then moving on to the job role and type of organisation. Using your personal summary sheet, you can begin to think about what kind of role you want and what kind of organisation you might want to work for. Looking through each of the 6 lenses from your personal summary, you can ask yourself a series of questions. For example, when it comes to the role, do you want to return to similar work that you've done previously, or do you want to try something completely different? If you are not sure, sit down and think about your previous jobs and past experiences. Make a note of the things you loved and the things you don't like. There are a number of online tools that are available that could help you. There's one called Truity, which you'll find at www.truity.com, that offers things like questionnaires on personality, on work styles, etc. Although I think the basic going through previous job roles and experiences is as good a way as any of thinking about it. When it comes to organisation, would a small company work better for you or a larger one? A more corporate environment? Are you a people person, or do you prefer to work alone? Are there any qualifications you will need, or is there some training you could complete that might help when applying for roles? Do you want a job for now that you're happy to stay in for some time, or a role with a career path for progression? Okay, so those are the three areas: salary and benefits, work-life balance, and job role and type of organisation. Now, can I ask you to look at your chat, and based on the 3 categories we've talked through, what are your priorities in your job search? What would you say those priorities are right now? Okay, have you all had a chance to answer? Do you need a bit more time?
So we have some responses coming through. Someone has said work-life balance. Actually, a few people have said work-life balance.
Right. Yeah.
Work-life balance around childcare as well.
Yeah. Yes, work-life balance is on our agenda, isn't it? Whether we work in the industry or whether we're applying for jobs, we all recognise the real importance of enabling people to have a good work-life balance. However, there's no right or wrong answers to any of these questions, and ultimately it's only you that knows what will work for you personally. Whatever you decide to do can impact not just you, of course, but your loved ones, which I'm sure you're very much aware of. So considering the points we've talked about and talking them through with others can often help you to make the right decision. After all, we spend a lot of time at work, and your job will be a major part of your daily life. So it's really worth the investment to get it right. Okay, so thanks very much for your time on this. I'm going to hand over now to Jennifer, who's going to take you through the next section.
Make sure my mic's on. Hello, everyone. I'm Jen. I am a senior talent consultant at the Lego Group. And I am going to move on to the application stage. So you understand yourself now. You understand what your transferable skills are and your strengths and what your priorities are. Now it's time to search. So the next few slides will cover the job search and the CV and addressing your career break as well. So I'm currently a recruiter, so I am the other person on the other side when you send that CV through that system. So hopefully I can give you some really useful tips. So firstly, where to start? Job searching can be a very daunting prospect. There are so many sites, so many jobs out there. However, there are a lot of resources available to help you and help you find your new role. And we've highlighted some of the key ones here. So LinkedIn is really a great place to start. LinkedIn has a lot of features. You can search for roles, find roles, you can learn through LinkedIn as well, and also connect. You can create a profile so people can find you. And LinkedIn has fast become one of the standouts for finding roles and connecting with other professionals too. It's really important to have a great profile, as this is an extension to your CV. What's also really great about LinkedIn is you can alert recruiters that you are open to work. And if you appear on the search they do, dependent on your skills, they may reach out. There will be a handout and we are going to include some links on how to create a great LinkedIn profile. Glassdoor is a really good one too. Where we were talking previously about, is the company the right fit? Glassdoor is a really useful tool to understand the culture a little bit more. You get feedback from current and ex-employees or people that have been through a recruitment process. You can also see what jobs they have available. Job sites. There are so many job sites. However, your key ones are Indeed, Total Jobs, and CV Library. For most of these, you can search jobs and what is available, as well as upload your CV for recruiters or a company to find. There are also recruitment agencies, which you'll see on sort of the high streets and online, which you can link in with. Networking is going to be a really key activity to do. If you know people within the industry you want to be working in, they can really support you, and you can actually start networking through LinkedIn. And don't forget, some companies, some of the larger companies will do returner programs. So programs specifically designed for people coming back into work. So do check those out as well. And just as an extra, you can also search on Google. So companies do sponsor keywords associated to their roles. And if you use some of these in your search bar, you'll get them to come up. So for example, customer service roles in Surrey, you will start seeing some sponsored roles come up. And just remember, not only can recruiters direct search and try and find the right candidate, you can do that and find the right job. If you have a specific industry in mind, you could go straight to their website and go to their careers section. So for example, if you're interested in aviation, you could search some of the airlines, the airports, and the handlers directly. Quick tip: most of the time, the link to their careers section is at the bottom of their web page. So we're going to move on to some CV top tips. And the first one being keep it simple and short. So ideally, it should be 1 to 2 pages at the most. If you put a bit too much information on there, it may look a bit disorganized. And sometimes the recruiters and the companies don't have time to read 10 pages of information, especially when there's volumes of candidates coming through. So keep the detail to your most recent and relevant job roles, and keep the formatting, font, and layout simple so it's easy to read. It's really good to have a personal statement at the top. This should include the most important information about you, as it is the part people read first. So your strengths, your skills, those sorts of good things. An overview at the top gives the recruiter a good sense of you right away. You can use some of the insight you gained from your personal summary in the connecting the dots exercise to do this. Everyone has amazing skills, and not only work specific, soft and hard skills are really important. Include what is relevant to the role that you are applying for. So you might need to, as we move on to the next point, tailor your CV for each role. But when you're thinking about the skills, include that mixture of both your soft and hard skills. Skills that you've learned during your career break or job searching period as well can be included. Or those you have grown with. So like adaptability, multitasking, you're a really quick learner, you have multilingual talents. And as I said, tailor your CV. One size doesn't fit all. Have a look at the role you're applying for. What are those key criteria and how can you highlight them in your CV? And proofread. So do double check that grammar and spelling. Errors can make your resume look unprofessional. It can help to sort of read your CV out loud, get someone else to read it as well. You might even want to put it away for a day and come back to it later with fresh eyes. Remember, we all have success to show off. It can feel a little bit awkward bigging yourself up, but that really is what a CV is all about. You can put it in a few bullet points in your CV to highlight some of your key skills and achievements. So let's move on to how to talk about that gap. Don't hide your gap. You have developed great skills and learning during this time. So do include the dates of your gap and a brief reason why. But you can also highlight what you learned during that time. Did you do any online courses? I went on this online course. I kept in the loop with my industry and skill by taking part in these activities. I volunteered at the school and led their weekly meetings on the PTA and organised the Christmas fair. I learnt time management and prioritisation as I was doing this. If you feel more information is needed, you can also do a cover letter and pop a little bit more detail in there. But just remember, job searching does take a little bit of time. So put aside some suitable time every day to find and apply for roles. What is suitable time? I would say at least an hour per day, more if you're able. And that kind of links into how you've got to tailor your CV. So you've got to have time to be able to do that. Some roles may also require you to answer questions based on your skills, experience, or why you want to work for that company, as well as uploading a CV. So take time to draft your answers and check your answers are actually answering the questions asked. However, don't miss that closing date. And I am now going to hand over to our next speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Just going to. Okay, so my name's Samantha, and I'm going to talk to you today about how to be interview ready. So being confident about you and the skills that you and experience that you're able to bring to a role that you apply for. You have been interviewed to attend an interview. You've been invited to attend an interview, sorry. And because of the potential employer believing that you have the skills, which is why you've been shortlisted to attend an interview. So what to cover? Knowledge of the company, explaining any breaks that you've had, relevant experience and skills, gaps in skills and experience, transferable skills, and any questions for the interview. So in advance, research the company, their history, their products, their values, and any latest news and updates that might be available. Go through your CV in detail, making sure that you're able to answer any questions and explain any gaps in your career history, which was just highlighted. So highlight responsibilities in the job description that you have experience in, and write down examples, bullet pointing them in a format that you use in the STAR method. We're going to cover that shortly. You can also practice answering questions about specific skills listed in the job. Google has some great example questions. For example, if one of the skills required is time management, Google interview questions about time management and highlight the responsibilities that you don't have experience in, and note down how you would look to fill these gaps within your knowledge. Also make a note of your transferable skills and how they can be used in the role that you're being interviewed for. Have a couple of questions prepared to ask the interviewers. For example, what career development opportunities are available to colleagues? Practical tips. So use a notepad and pen to record all of your presentation and notes all in one place, so you've got everything to hand on the day. Practice with friends and family, or on your own, just looking in the mirror, just asking potential questions, including any questions about gaps in your CV. This will make it easier for you within the interview, as you've already practiced your answers. If your interview is remote, choose a location that is quiet, tidy, and free from obstructions. And what's really great about Teams and Zoom, you've got backgrounds, you can hide anything behind you. If the interview is on site, plan the route that you're going to take to make sure that you arrive no later than 15 minutes before your interview. Anything earlier than that can appear as lack of time management. And plan what you're going to wear in advance. There's a link to this in the resource pack that we give you. So the key thing really is to arrive on time. You know, don't arrive flustered, have plenty of time to use the bathroom, sit down, have a drink of water, and compose yourself ready for the interview. So competency interviews. What is a competency interview? A competency interview is a style of interview that is used to show how you would demonstrate different behaviours and skills within a workplace environment. So during this type of interview, you'll be asked questions that are based on set competency that is required for the role that you've applied for. The interviewer will ask you to provide an example based on the competency that they're measuring at the time. For example, if they want to measure teamwork, the question could be, can you give me an example of when you've helped to build team spirit? So then you'd give an example of how you've done that. The STAR method. I'm sure you've probably heard of the STAR method already, but we're just going to go through it with you now. So STAR is a technique for answering competency questions during an interview. It's based on the theory that one of the most reliable indicators of future performance is past experience, and is also an opportunity for the interviewers to obtain information from you about the way that you have handled different situations in the past. So situation, set the scene, provide context and background. Provide the background story and set the scene of the example that you're about to detail. When you've had to deal with a particularly difficult customer on the telephone, for example. And then the task, describe the purpose, outline the problem and the challenges. Detail the tasks that you identified, which was required for completion. Action. Explain your actions. Advise what you did and how. And then confirm the actions you completed and the impact of those tasks for the customer. Remember to include what was the situation. Remember to include what you communicated to the customer at the time to resolve the situation. And then lastly, result. Share the outcome. State the benefits and quantify the impact of your actions. Also state any learnings from the example that you've given, which may be asked by the interviewee. So we're just going to do a short exercise now, and I'd like you to take a few minutes and write down one example using the STAR method and perhaps share it within the chat. So just type in the chat an example of the STAR method. So what was the situation? What was the task? What action did you take? And what was the results? Anything coming through in the chat?
Not just yet.
Okay. There's no comments. I can move on, or does anyone need more time?
I would say we move on. If anything comes on, then I'll let you know.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so that's the end of my session, actually. So I'm going to hand back over.
Brilliant. Thank you, Samantha. I'm just going to my camera back on. So I know a few of you are probably still working on the STAR technique question. So what I can do actually, because I think as Zoe said, it can be quite difficult to think of something on the spot. So please feel free to send those over if you have any. But we've actually had one come through. But before I read that, I was going to say, if there are any questions, please feel free to, if you raise your hand, then I can enable your microphone for you to ask any question that you may have or any additional comments that you may have regarding the STAR method example. So I'm going to read out the one example that came through, and it's angry client arranged face-to-face to discuss issue, listened and identified issue and agreed action plan. So basically given a step-by-step of how they've used that STAR method. But I think what Zoe said is, you know, absolutely crucial in that on the spot it's so difficult to maybe have to think about something. So I would always think to, you know, with any question that you're asked that interview, to try to prepare in advance some examples that you may use in accordance with like the STAR method and stuff. So I'm going to hand over now to my colleague Jamila. Whilst, yeah, like I said, if you do have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand or even send them via chat, and then we can post them to the panel.
Welcome everyone. Adebisi, did you want to talk about the mentoring offer before I move on to my bit?
Okay, yes, no, I can do that. Yeah.
Great.
So yes, so in terms of, I'm just going to take control so you can, yeah. So in terms of the presentation itself, we just wanted to give a bit of credit to the people who worked on the presentation and worked on the content and putting it together. So as Jamila mentioned, we do, as part of the CIPD Trust, offer mentoring, one-to-one mentoring to people who are looking for work. So the mentoring program essentially matches you with a mentor who can support you through your application process, through working with your CV, looking at interview prep. And all you need to do is basically register through our webpage. And I'm going to ask my colleague Zoe to please send the link via chat so you can all have access to it. So once you filled out the registration form, that will be sent to our portal and a mentor will basically pick it up. And you should usually be matched with a mentor within about 2 weeks. The mentoring process, I would say, definitely is very useful in that we've seen that 6 out of 10 of our mentee on the program go on to find the job after the program. And I can see that questions come through. Is this few steps ahead? Yes, it is. So some of you may have heard about the program already, or some of you may already be on the program. So I will definitely say to kind of, yeah, definitely access it to look at what options are available to you. The really great thing about the program is that every mentor is a CIPD member, and they're basically experts in the field in terms of supporting you to go into work and to get a job. So yeah, you just need to fill out the application and then you'll be matched with a mentee, hopefully, like I said, within 2 weeks. So yeah, back over to you, Jamila.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Adebisi, for talking about that. Yeah, I think it's really important to know that if hopefully this hour that we've had together, or almost an hour, has given you some useful tips and insights in terms of hearing directly from the people professionals themselves in terms of how you can approach your job search. But if you want that kind of more bespoke support, then that mentoring offer is there to support you. So yeah, so I just had a few little things today, and we might even have some time for questions before we finish. But yeah, I really hope everyone that's joined today has got something out of the session today. There's certainly some useful tips within there that I kind of really picked up on, and I think key thing is just really about understanding and bringing that to that point around values and thinking about, what is it you need, where are you going to be prepared to compromise in terms of a role, where are you, what's perhaps non-negotiable for you, and really kind of getting that really deep understanding of that first before you even think about job search. And I guess some of the other kind of takeaways I had is, is being confident about the sort of skills and things that you do going through a career break. I think sometimes it's easy to think that because we're not in an official job that maybe we, maybe we haven't necessarily learned anything or developed anything, but actually often that's very rarely that's not the case. So so some useful kind of things to think about there. And I know Adebisi and Celia and Zoe are planning to send some some other links and resources to everybody, so you'll have more of a chance to have a look at those and take some sort of time over it. But do take advantage of that mentoring if that's something that would suit you. So yeah, so I just wanted to say another thank you to our the presenters today. So big thanks to Denise, Jennifer, Belinda and Samantha. I think it's really great, hopefully hearing directly from people who are on the other side of the desk, who really understand what it's like both to be applying for jobs, but also to have that insight in terms of the employer side, and really kind of understanding how you can really make that impression when you're going for a job, especially after a period out of work. And I just wanted to re-emphasize that this is these sessions that we've run this week, these are very new, so we're really keen to hear from you in terms of what you liked, what you perhaps would like more of, where, if there's any gaps that you feel that we've not covered as part of this, because this is as the work of our CIPD Trust develops, there will be more kind of programs and more kind of sessions and things that we'll be developing. So we really want to hear from you to make sure that we're kind of meeting the need of what you're looking for, and where we can do more, and where we can kind of help you more in terms of helping you get on and get back to work. So that final slide there has got some information about the trust if you want to know more about what we do as the CIPD Trust, and also there's a way for you to keep in touch with us. So you can see CIPD Team Trust at cipd.co.uk. So if you want to get in touch with us and keep in touch with us as the work of the trust develops, then we're really keen to hear from you. We're hoping to get a newsletter developed as our programs start to build and our work develops further. So please do keep in touch if you're interested. And I know the team will be following up with you as well. So I think that's pretty much all from me. Shall I hand back to you, Adebisi, if in case we have some questions for the panel?
Yes, so we actually have 2 questions. The first one is, and I hope I haven't missed that. I think it's, if you're only looking for a part-time job, would you recommend only looking at jobs advertised as such, or potentially applying for full-time roles and then discussing? So I'm guessing what they're asking is, if you're looking for a part-time role, should you still also go for a full-time role and then potentially letting the employer know that you like to work part-time?
So I can help with answering that one, maybe. So yeah, some companies are a bit more open about whether they would consider, a part-time, or whether they would then take 2 heads for the part-time. So I think it's really by kind of asking the question. Some are more upfront, so like you said, that you can go and apply for them and they'll offer that kind of part-time opportunity. So there's a couple of things you could do. If you can, and you can see the role on somewhere like LinkedIn, it might be linked to a recruiter. So I know roles that I am looking after are linked to me on LinkedIn. So if you click on the role you're interested in, my face comes up, and then you can actually direct message them and ask them. So you could do that. What I would say is, if a company really, really wants your skills and the experience that you can bring, it is something that they might consider, and that could be compressed hours rather than a typical part-time, if that makes sense. Or there might be a different way they can approach it. So flexible working is something companies have got a lot better in. So basically what I think I'm trying to say is, I think you should definitely inquire about ones that aren't clear whether they would take full part-time. I hope that helps.
Thanks, Jennifer. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Emma. And I think the other question was, should you put a career break on your LinkedIn profile?
I'm happy to step in for that one. Definitely. Like we said, it's exactly the same as your CV. You have amazing skills that you have learned before your career break and during your career break. We don't stop learning and developing. So yeah, pop it in too. It's a really great thing where you can highlight your skills. So don't be shy about it. Pop it in.
Great, thank you for answering that as well. I just wanted to input into that question a little bit, actually, because I think with some organizations, for example, they may offer a returners program. So I think if you have recruiters or organizations who are looking on LinkedIn, who are looking specifically for those markers in your LinkedIn profile, for example, if you have put your career break in there, it probably makes it easier for them, because then you have what they're looking for in terms of the type of candidates that will be applying for a returners role. And I think, as Jennifer mentioned, essentially on your CV, it would be on there anyway. So I think it's not nothing, you don't need to hide it, because again, if it comes out in interview, it's a question that you can answer and you can explain, to the employers, those skills that you've learned, like Jennifer mentioned, and the experience that you still have to bring to the table with or without a career break, essentially. I think someone mentioned that they couldn't see the CIPD, that last slide page. I hope you can see it now. If not, I think my colleague Zoe mentioned already that we were going to be sending the slides out, so please don't worry. You will have access to the slides, so you can see the all the information on that page as well. But yes, that is the end of the session now. I'd like to say thank you again for joining the session. We're going to be sending you out a survey, as Jamila mentioned. Please do fill out that survey because it will give us a better idea of, areas in which we can improve the session. But yes, I would like to, say a massive thank you again to the presenters and to everyone who inputted into putting together this session as well. So yes, thank you guys very much. And hopefully we see you on a future webinar.
Thank you, everyone. And please do keep in touch.